Welcome, Badass Manifester. I am so glad you are here. I'm your host and head coach, Ashley Gordon, master mindset and manifestation biz expert, founder of the quantum coaching certification, and multiple six-figure entrepreneur obsessed with empowering you to create quantum leaps in your energy, your life, and your business. This is the show to help you make magic your everyday normal, where the ripple effect is real and the guest experts are world class. My mission is to power your conscious and subconscious mind with manifestation teachings, business tools, and coaching techniques to put your potential into action. Consider this your weekly up level. Are you ready for quantum transformation? Let's do this. Welcome back, Badass Manifester, to another solo episode. And on today's episode, I am going pretty vulnerable, as I usually do, to share something that came up for me last summer when I manifested my dream car. So I'm going to share with you how this manifested and what came up for me and how receiving this dream car actually didn't feel right in my nervous system. And I was feeling pretty ashamed and embarrassed in that process of receiving something that had been on my vision board for so many years. So this episode is about manifestation, but also feeling worthy and really getting your energy and your system, your nervous system, in a place of being willing to receive it and what that means for you and your next level. Okay? So 1 year ago, I was pregnant. It was summertime. And I remember my husband always being on the lookout for our next car because I had a two-door convertible, and I knew that I wasn't going to be able to take the baby around in a two-door convertible. I wanted something bigger. I wanted something safer. And of course, I wanted a G-Wagon. Duh. Maybe not duh, but that was the car that was on my vision board for years. A white G-Wagon with black rims, and I knew I wanted it to be 2019 or sooner. So I get a call from my husband, and he says that you're not going to believe this. There is the exact G-Wagon that you want in the town over from where we live, which is very, very, very rare. It's like what are the odds that it's the exact one right next to where we live? So we went to look at the car, and I talked myself out of it immediately. I'm like, we test drove it. I was like, this is so awesome. But then we leave the dealership, and I'm like, absolutely not. Like, we're not doing this. We're not buying this car. No. And I talked myself out of it. And then the next thing I know, I go away to New York City, and I come home, and my husband is pulling up with the G-Wagon, and it has a red bow on it. Yeah. And I was freaking out. I posted a video on my Instagram. To say I was excited, surprised, amazed would be an understatement. I was just like, holy moly, this is everything. This is epic. It was unreal because I would drive in my car previously, and I would imagine being in my G-Wagon. I would be driving over bridges and the windows down, and I would imagine myself jamming out to music, and I would use my current car to visualize like being in this car. So it was really amazing. And so this happened a year ago, and I didn't tell anyone. I really didn't tell anyone. And I never told anyone because when my husband surprised me with the G-Wagon, right? This car, like I said, has been on my vision board for years. It was sitting at the top left corner on my computer screen. I looked at it every single day, and then boom, there it was in my driveway. And it manifested better than I could have imagined. I mean, he had a bow, right? Like, it was a dream come true. And for some reason, it just didn't feel neutral or normalized in my nervous system to receive or to have it. So I didn't tell anyone except for like my very best friends. And eventually, friends started casually asking me if I was getting a new mom car since I had this two-door convertible and a very big baby bump, right? And some friends saw me driving the new car after I had gotten it, and I had to start sharing the story of this latest manifestation of the G-Wagon. And when I would tell the story of how it happened, I would say it basically under my breath. And I would justify that we could buy the car because we've been driving two paid off cars for quite some time. And it was like so ridiculous. And everyone was so excited for me. Like people were like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. Why are you like saying it like that? Own it. I was just so uncomfortable. I felt embarrassed. And then I was fucking embarrassed that I felt embarrassed because I'm like, shouldn't I be like past this at this point on my journey? You know, I have a huge business. I have so many wonderful things, everything in my life that I've manifested, right? Like, shouldn't I be past this like feeling? And long story short is that I never want to make or come off like I am bragging, or I never want to make someone feel bad or feel triggered. And I know that that's like an impossible, order, right? Like that's never going to happen. I can't be that person to never make anyone feel triggered. And conceptually, I know this truth, this wisdom, right? So do you. It's like we're showing people what's possible. But I had to really embody it here. Like I had to take that knowing and I got practice in it through this manifestation. So it's like sometimes we can know things, but then in order to actually embody things, we have to go through stuff like this, right? The massive shift that came through to me was like as we grow into our most on purpose, wealthy, impactful selves, it is our responsibility to own our creations, because that is the only way to be the shower, to help people know that it's also possible for them. For you to look at me and be like, if she could do it, I can fucking do it. And it's our intention and our responsibility to check in on let me repeat that. It's our responsibility to check in on our intention behind what we share with the world and for what purpose we share it. And what's not our responsibility is trying to not make people feel triggered, because we both know that we have no control over that, right? And so for me trying to not make people feel bad or triggered, I thought the answer was to just hide. I thought the answer was to just dim it all down, keep myself small, don't talk about it. And when I do talk about it, really dumb it down, dim it down, don't make it, what it is. And what I learned is that sometimes our desires are going to manifest before our nervous system is ready to really receive them. And that sticky feeling that I had working through all of this is actually part of my next level. So when I ask myself, what is my next level to receiving more wealth? These are the areas that I'm looking at. And these are the areas for you to look at. It's like, where do you feel like you're dimming yourself down, or where do you feel like you're not owning your creations? Because how can I receive my next level if I'm not owning the level that I'm at right now? It's so interesting when you really can pinpoint where you're holding yourself back. Everything becomes so clear. And so when I say it's important to check your intention, my intention is to always and only show you what's possible and available for you to create in this lifetime. That you are fucking worthy of your most epic vision board manifestations to come true. Because really, what's so interesting is that the power of our dreams, it's not necessarily in the extravagance of the manifestation, but in the transformation that it ignites within us. That is gold. It's not the thing. It's how the thing transforms us energetically. So how fun is that? We get to have fun with our creations. We get to play. We get to be here to expand and to see how far we could take this human experience, whatever that means to you. It might not mean a G-Wagon to you. It doesn't matter. It doesn't insert anything you desire for G-Wagon, right? It doesn't matter. And what's so interesting is like the universe will always give you what you need. And my word for 2023 was own it. My mantra, right, was to own it. Own my life, own my creations, own my manifestations, own this business that I built, own my body, own my feminine essence, own being an amazing mama, own whatever it is that I need to own. And it's because of the transformation and the journey of working through everything that I just shared with you with the G-Wagon and receiving it. So working through all of that was for a greater purpose, right? Because the more I own myself and my life, it will ripple out to you, right? Now the message goes to you. You're hearing this for a reason because there's something in your life that you're not owning, or you're hiding, or there's a manifestation you received that you feel embarrassed by or ashamed about. And that's exactly what the medicine is for the world, for you to own it on any level that you feel you need to own it, right? Not everyone needs to do a podcast about manifesting their G-Wagon. Not everyone needs to do a social media post about the house that they just bought or the relationship that they just created. It's owning it in small ways every day when they arise, right? When someone asks me about it, to be like, yeah, that's my dream car. I got it. Like, yeah, it's possible for you too. Not to feel embarrassed, right? It happens in the small moments throughout our day. It's that moment by moment practice of owning it. It's not like, oh, I have to make a post and announce it to the world for me to own it. No, that's just part of my journey of owning it and sharing it, because my purpose here is to help you wake up to the power that you have within yourself. And I have to go through that process myself. So it's just a big mirror, a big ripple effect. And it is so powerful when I can see it that way and give it to you in this form. So that is the story, that is the download. And I want to leave you with just a few tips on how to manifest your dream car, but really anything. But I'm really, really good at manifesting cars. I don't know what it is, but cars are really easy for me for some reason. I just like know that I can have them and then they appear. So here's my little car story. When I was 17, or before that, I would say to my mom, am I going to get a car? Like, do we have money for a car? I really didn't know what our financial situation was. And that was shortly after I met my whole other family and my biological father when I was 15. And I have a story. I have a whole podcast on that if you go back into the archives. It's called My Life Story in, I think, 29 minutes or something like that. And so I didn't know if I was going to get, a car. And this was like before I even learned about manifestation. And I did. I went to a family party and everyone was like giving out gifts, and I got this little box, and they told me to go outside, and it was keys to my brand new Hyundai Tiburon. I was, 17 years old, and it was amazing. It was like, holy shit. There was a balloon on it that said happy 17th birthday, Ashley. It was incredible. I feel like I might have told this story somewhere in the podcast, but that's just a very short version of it. And I drove that Hyundai for like 7 years. It was like, I just drove it as far as I could. And it was brand new when I got it. Amazing little car. And I was so grateful for that car. And I had a boyfriend at the time who was really into BMWs, and like BMW, it was like my next car had to be a BMW. He brainwashed me basically into loving BMWs and just knew everything about them. He ended up going to BMW school, so I knew way too much about BMWs. And I was like, okay, I'm manifesting a BMW. And I put it on my vision board. So tip 1, always put it on your vision board. And then, your reticular activating system is going to start showing you all the cars on the street that you want, right? So I started seeing BMWs everywhere, and I would celebrate every time I saw one, because in my energy, that was like, I'm getting closer. So my belief is anytime I would see a car that I wanted, I was getting closer. And that's what I do for all manifestations. Anytime I see something that is like, oh, yes, that's what I want, I'm getting closer to it. I'm getting closer to it. And so I would go to BMW and I would test drive their cars because I knew it was time getting closer to buying a car. And I was looking at Hyundais and I was looking at a couple other different cars, but my mind was basically set. And the Hyundai that I had driven, it was going to be like $500 or $600 a month. And when I went to BMW, they told me that that the car that I was test driving was a demo vehicle, so I could get an even better lease on the car. And so I was just visualizing myself in this white BMW. I was just dreaming about it. It was on my vision board. I would imagine listening to music in that car. Visualization is a very big tool for me because it also helps me tap into the feeling that I had driving that car. And so I would tap into that feeling. And at the time I was starting to get my real estate license, I think. And I would imagine like taking clients to houses to look at houses in my car. And so visualization is so key for seeing yourself in that thing, in that vehicle, in whatever it is that you're creating. And lo and behold, I had to put down $1,500 on that car, and it was $350 a month. It was cheaper than the Hyundai. And I was so excited. I was so grateful. I was so blown away by the manifestation. And after that, I manifested another BMW. And then I was working as a coach. Like years went by. 6 years went by. Because I had 2 BMWs for those 3 years each. And then I was working as a coach, and I had a client, and she was like, I just got a new car. I got an Audi convertible. And we were celebrating this manifestation for her. And I looked at her Audi convertible, and she was showing me like putting the top down, and boom, rocket of desire went off, and my lease was ending on my previous BMW. And I was like, oh my gosh, I have to have a convertible. And so I was just like, oh my God, this is it. This is my pre-baby car, I would call it. And just like feeling into what it would be like to have the wind in my hair and listening to music and driving to the beach and living that convertible life, right? And it was like, I think it was early spring at this point, so it was really a perfect time to get a convertible. And sure enough, we found the perfect 2 Series BMW convertible, and we found it on Carvana. This is not a Carvana ad, but we found it on Carvana, had a great experience with them, and I had it. I had it within like 30 days of that rocket of desire going off because my lease was ending. It just rolled right into it, and we purchased that car. And so my takeaways from manifesting cars are always visualizing yourself in that car as you're in your current car, right? Really feeling into that reality and not holding yourself back from going for it. Like I had to look for the BMW. I had to test drive that first BMW. I went for it acting as if. So every time I went to manifest this, I was acting as if. And then when it came to the G-Wagon, of course, it was on my vision board. I would see it every day. My husband knew it was the car that I wanted. I wasn't afraid to say it to him, like, this is the car that I want. This is the mom car that I want. And I mean, we would look for them together. We would have notifications come up on our phone just for fun. And my closest friends knew that was the car that I wanted. And it was just something that we talked about all the time, and we knew it was possible if we found the right one. And that was the energy that we had around it, was just this certainty, right? It's this certainty of this dream is attainable. And so when you know your dreams are attainable, things just come down to making decisions, right? Like the opportunity of whatever it is that you want, a car or anything else, will be in front of you. And then you have the power, right? Because you're the co-creator. So the universe is delivering to you your desire, and then you have the final say of like, yes, this is what I want. This is the direction I'm taking my life. This is the decision that I'm making. And then it becomes up to you to move forward with it, to talk yourself into it or to talk yourself out of it, to say that it's aligned for you because it's right in front of you, or to say that it's not because this one little thing isn't lining up and now the whole manifestation's off, or to say I'm worthy of this or I'm not worthy of this. And that's also why we talk ourselves in and out of different things. So there's a lot there to digest, but just know that you're co-creating at all times, and then ultimately the decision is left in your hands to say yay or nay. And there's a lot of factors that go into those decisions. And the more that we can do our own inner work to deprogram our old ways of thinking and believing and all of that to a neutral place, it's in that neutrality that all the decisions become much easier. It's in that neutrality that our nervous system can easily receive what it is that we're calling in, and we can get to our next level. So doing the work, it really brings us to neutral. And from the neutral place, that desire, it's just like, yes, that makes perfect sense. Yes, I choose this. Yes, I receive this, right? So that's the message. Those are the tips. I hope that you take this and create epic manifestations, whether it be cars or anything else that you want to create. Thank you so much for listening to the podcast. I appreciate you so much. And please take a moment and leave a review. Leave a review. I will shout you out on my next solo episode. It means the world to me to get your feedback, to know how this impacted you. So if this gave you any sort of shift or aha moment, just drop it in the comments in the review section of the podcast app, Apple Podcasts, and let me know. Can't wait to read them. Thank you so much. Until next time, keep being a badass manifester. Woo! We did some work today. Thank you so much for listening. You know I love my BAM fam. If this episode resonated with you, please share it with someone who you know would love it too, because we live for the ripple effect over here. And how can you best support the show? Make sure you're subscribed, hit the 5 stars, and leave a review on iTunes, and let me know how the podcast has impacted you. I love being part of your real-time journey, so screenshot the episode and tag me and my guests on Instagram at manifestwithash. Now say it with me. I am my own power source. I am the master of my own energy, and I deserve everything that I desire. We don't just talk about it over here, we be about it. Now go get 'em.